Hello, y'all. Danny here on my lunch break on a Tuesday. So we're gonna play some Donkey Kong. Yesterday was a super exciting day where I broke 100,000 points. We're gonna see how well I can do on this lunch break right now. I think my next goal is to get to 150,000. I think that's the next threshold I'm gonna set for myself because even though it's only an increment of 50,000 points, that's going to require me doing a lot better at the game and improving my skill cap quite a bit in order to be able to accomplish that. So I think that's a good goal, kind of goal for me. Alright. So we're just gonna play a little bit. Dang it, come on. There we go. Alright, I can get him to this level. Yeah, so it's been an uneventful day today, so far. But, you know, I just had some thoughts on, I know yesterday the main character of Twitter, whom you never want to be, was complaining about people not being anime fans if their only knowledge of anime is very mainstream titles, and then he went off to ramble like a dozen different titles that span like 30 years of anime, which is like just stupid. Gatekeeping is dumb, and I just don't understand it on a fundamental level because I don't understand why you would want to prevent people from getting interested in and enjoying something that you enjoy. I just don't understand why you would want to do that. And hopefully some of these guys come down. I probably grabbed that hammer way too early. I should have just gone down and cleared. Oh my gosh. That's fine. I'll just come down here and clear these. At least I can safely get up on the left side, so I'll just do that. But I just don't understand why, you want to try and keep people out of your fandom, and say, oh, you're not a real fan because you only care about One Piece or whatever. And it's just stupid, and I think that's the case for any kind of gatekeeping in any fandom. Like, I just don't understand. What is the mindset behind I like this thing, but I'm going to dictate what makes it something that I'm going to dictate what determines whether you're a real fan or not, and if you're a fake fan, then you gotta get out of here. It just doesn't make sense because, like, especially when it, like, not even especially, but just like, even though it's silly nerd shit, and I say that in the most endearing, positive way possible, but to just want to exclude somebody from, a fandom or a medium just because they don't have the same encyclopedic knowledge that you do of stuff is just stupid. And it doesn't make sense. And this is on my mind as a combination of that guy going on his little gatekeeping thing and gatekeeping trending on Twitter yesterday, as well as this morning while I was working, I watched GTFO, which is a documentary, which is actually on YouTube for free right now. It's a documentary about shit. Thought I messed that up. It's a documentary about women in the video game industry and the sexism and misogyny they face on a daily basis. And it's really interesting because it covers women from a wide variety of walks of life related to gaming. So Some of them actually work for game companies. Some of them are professional gamers. Some of them are games journalists. Some of them are teachers who teach game design. And it just talks about how gaming as a fandom is just very toxic towards women, which is in and of itself a symptom of the internalized misogyny and sexism of society as a whole. It was very interesting and pretty good. I mean, being somebody who like, I'm not at all surprised by the sexism and misogyny in the gaming community or society as a whole. Let's be real. Like, none of that surprises me. Like, I've been very aware of it. Thankfully, I personally have never really been the subject of, or the target of, just hatred and spitefulness within the fandoms that I've been in, or the communities I've been in, excuse me, including gaming, thankfully. But I mean, part of that's just out of fear because I know, I know that growing up, like, it was one of those things where I knew what could happen if I was playing game online, and I used voice chat. I knew what could happen, so I just didn't use voice chat. And when I was playing games online very frequently, I just wouldn't talk. I would, use the typing chat or whatever if I was playing games on my PC, or just not talk if I was playing online through another means. Um, because I didn't even want to have the potential of facing just gross commentary. My screen is bugging out again. Ugh. Ugh. I just want to play Donkey Kong. So just like a comedy, like so the whole gatekeeping conversation that was happening on Twitter yesterday, just kind of like, on top of that, just watching that documentary, and that was kind of just extrapolating on those same issues where it's like, men who are toxic, people who are toxic, they see these communities and they see these mediums as like the last outlet of like, well, I can do what I want. Like, they're the last bastions of, I can be a shitty misogynistic dude and get away with it because that's just how it is. And these communities, environments are like the last bastions of them being able to do so, but that's quickly changing as people are like, no, how about we don't do that? Don't like this. Oh my god, there's so many pies. Alright, we're just gonna run for it. Shit. Alright, that's gonna change direction. Okay, cool. Alright. And again, it's just like, society, society as a whole is changing, and these communities are changing as well to be more inclusive, and people don't like that, so they're trying to, just be shitty and hold on to what they can because, for whatever reason, this niche thing that they held on to and got them through hard times, now they want to hold on to that and keep that to themselves and don't want to be open to the change that other people could potentially bring to the communities that they're in, or the mediums that they're consuming, the media that they're consuming, or whatnot. And I don't really know. There's not really a coherent thought to it, except other than I just think it's stupid. I think gatekeeping is just the dumbest thing, and I can see how if you're like a shitty little snotball of a person and you want to like hold on to this thing because your interpretation of it is, the pure, shit, I shouldn't jump there. Like, your interpretation of it is like the best or like the purest or, whatever, and you can't have casual fans coming in and liking something because then it ruins it for you. It's just stupid. Because it's just dumb, and I don't understand it because, you know, from the standpoint of a person who's been a fan of, you know, like I've seen this happen in multiple fandoms that I've been in because like I've always been a nerdy little kid. Um, like even as a kid, I was just like a whole ass nerd. You know, watched anime, read comic books and manga, played video games. Like that was my that's what I did. Um, as a kid, like that's how I spent my free time. Was I played video games, I read. I mean, I read a lot of stuff, not just comic books and manga, but like I did thoroughly enjoy comic books and manga. Um, watch cartoons and anime, and any time that something, God forbid, is changing to reflect or appeal to a demographic that it didn't previously explicitly go out of its way to appeal to, or reach out to. You have these, old school fans, or just hard asses throw a conniption, like just have a conniption because how dare they try and change something and bring in a new audience? How dare they? And I think that's just incredibly idiotic and close-minded perception and worldview to have, because strictly speaking, from like a capitalist standpoint, strictly speaking from a strictly capitalist standpoint, which I don't even like to do because I hate capitalism. I mean, I exist in a society, and capitalism is something that I participate in as a member of the society, and it is what it is. I like material goods, despite saying fuck material goods, whatever. But the thing is that you know people get their panties in a bunch, because they decide to change something. They decide to make a change to a beloved franchise, or like reboot it to make it appeal to a younger audience, or again, like they're trying to do something to like just bring in new people, or they're just like making a change to something to, or maybe they're not even making a change. Maybe the medium itself, or like the franchise itself, isn't actively making a change. It's just that, like, I think this is kind of the case with anime and manga. Like, are things in the industry changing? Yeah, sure, somewhat, but I think the bigger factor in there is that anime and manga are just becoming more mainstream as it becomes more easily accessible to read manga and watch anime. Because I mean, I remember like when I was real young. I remember when I was real young, and you know, not quite to the extent of like, I was renting shit. I was renting bootleg DVDs from the local video store to watch the 2 episodes of like Elfenlied or whatever. Um, I was never quite. I'm a little bit too young for that, but like I can certainly remember, you know, I was there for like the uploaded onto YouTube in 3 parts days, where you would just watch your anime. You would watch your anime on YouTube, and they had like the 10-minute video limit. So you'd have to sit there and you'd have to watch your episode in 3 parts, with like, the ridiculous translator's notes. Oh, shit. Oh my gosh, that's why I don't like getting bottom hammer. So like I was around for those days, and when you would go to an anime convention, and it was like, oh my god, like I found this series on DVD. I can't even believe it. Where it's like nowadays, whether through legal or illegal means, you can pretty easily, for the most part, find anything that you like are looking for or potentially want to watch. Like it's so much easier than it was back in my day. And I think that that's just like a sign of technology and a growing interest in anime and manga as mediums of art outside of Japan. And I don't think. Ah, shit. That was stupid. I thought that barrel wasn't going over that ladder. That's why I started walking towards it. Oops. Oh. A warm up round of 81,000 is nothing to sneeze at. So, certain things I think have changed a little bit about anime and manga, but, I. And I'm like thinking strictly in the sense of, shonen series. Like, I'm thinking about shonen series, like, over the past 20 years. Um, and I don't think that they've necessarily like changed in any huge groundbreaking way. Um, I mean, I do think that writing has gotten better, and especially like writing of women characters or female characters in shonen manga overall has gotten better. I mean, you still get the occasional like, what is this author doing? But I think overall, characters are just like being written better and stuff because they are understanding that the demographics that they gonna reset the demographics that they're hitting isn't just for boys, and there is not only a market for girls and women and people who aren't boys or men, but also just like an international market as well for that sort of stuff. um so I don't even think that it's like necessarily that manga and anime has like changed a ton, because I don't think it has. It's just it's so much more accessible, so people are have a much easier time getting into it. It's so much easier to I mean, like, look at Crunchyroll. Like, you get Crunchyroll as a streaming service, and suddenly there's all these series that you can watch super easily. And again, it's not the digging through YouTube, watching your anime in 3 parts. So just like with the increased accessibility of anime and manga, and even like games, like just how much easier it is to game nowadays with mobile gaming and even I mean, again, showing my age a little bit, but like flash games or like Facebook games or whatever. Like, it's so much easier for different groups of people to play games now than it was even a decade ago. So naturally, with more accessibility and more widespread becoming part of the mainstream, you're going to have wider audiences. And I mean, and this is like a line that they said in the GTFO documentary, where they're talking about like, well, nobody really describes themselves like as part of their personality or like their identity as like a film goer. Like, that's just such a prevalent part of our culture and our society that nobody really necessarily unless you are like a really super dedicated film buff, like, you're not necessarily going to describe yourself as a film goer. Whereas a lot of folks will describe themselves as a gamer, and that's part of what is changing about gaming. Is like, it's not this strict closed-minded definition of cis white males ages 15 to 35 or whatever. It's everybody games in some capacity. Not necessarily video games, but I mean, my grandma's a mean bridge player. She plays games. Uh, like, everybody games in some capacity. Whether it be Words with Friends on your phone, or dedicated to playing on your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Edition and playing a constant stream of games, like, or even like I'm doing right now, where I'm just sitting here playing like a classic arcade machine. Like, everybody games, but it's this subset of people who have hinged so much of their identity on being a gamer, and video games is what I'm about, and video games is what I'm about and what I do, and that's my and then hinging their whole personality on it just creates this like whole toxic attitude. And I think that's where kind of the protectiveness of their hobbies comes from. Again, I think it's really stupid because this was a pulling back what a tangent from earlier was going to be, is just you know, I mentioned anytime that something gets like a reboot or you know, is like, or not even necessarily even a reboot, but like sometimes, you know, they're like, oh, we're bringing back this, you know, classic series and we're gonna air it again on TV. Um, like, you know, like I remember, I was like in my late teens probably, and like Toonami was like making a big deal about, oh, we're gonna re-air all of Cowboy Bebop in order for like, you know, this like next like couple of weeks or whatever. Um, so you know, if you missed out on the first time, you can watch it all. That you can watch it all, and we're gonna just do it over the course of the next couple of weeks. Again, showing my age because um, like I actually haven't seen all of Cowboy Bebop because, and I know it's super easy to watch now, but like when I was super interested in it, I could the only way I could easily consistently watch it was getting DVDs from my local library, and they were missing one of the DVDs like in the middle of the set. So I've seen about half of Cowboy Bebop, and it's on my list to watch eventually. I do eventually want to finish Cowboy Bebop, and and I feel like that's something that people would say, oh, you're not a real anime fan because you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop. And I'm like, I know I haven't seen Cowboy Bebop. Like, I love the music. I love the parts I have seen. It's just, the accessibility of it wasn't there for the longest time. And wasn't there when I was really into like peak like I watch anime because nowadays nowadays I don't watch anime as much. As a rule of thumb, I prefer reading the manga if that's an option. So, like with a shonen series, it's like, well, I could read the manga or I could watch the anime, and I'm like, I'm gonna read the manga. Just for me, I'm like, I like it with a little bit less filler. I like it because I can read at a much faster pace than watching an anime would take. I just prefer to read a manga as opposed to watch the anime in most cases. Um, and I know that's kind of the opposite for a lot of people. A lot of people would prefer to watch the anime because it's a little bit easier to understand like what's going on, especially an action-heavy series where it's actually being animated and you can kind of see more of what's going on instead of movement being conveyed through still images. But like, it's like if somebody today were to be like, oh hey, and it's like if someone today were to be like, oh hey, um, we're gonna re-release Cowboy Bebop on ultra 4K whatever, and push it on these streaming services and like make a big fanfare about like we're and I'm not even talking like necessarily reboot because I mean this is worse when there's like talk about reboots or like whatnot, but like we're just gonna like republish it. We're gonna bring it back. We're gonna republish it so that way it can be accessed by a new group of fans. Um, and then people like throw a hissy fit about it. Like you would think that if they're taking a series that you love, and love, and making it more accessible, not only does that benefit you as a fan because oh hey now it's easier for me to watch this more than ever, but again like if you get more people interested in a series or in a medium as a whole, that creates more demand for merchandise, content from the series, potential spin-offs, whatever. The more people who are interested in it and the more money that goes into it, the more you're gonna get out of it. Like, and again, like for series specifically, if a series is a commercial success, like you're certainly going to see more from it, in order to kind of milk the cash cow. But oh fuck. But again, if you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got out of that. All right. Oh my gosh, why does my screen have to be so uncooperative? Okay. Like back in the day, when Naruto was like super big, like we got the you know, the anime was just like so bloated with filler because like the demand for Naruto was so high, and you know, like as I said, I personally don't like watching anime as much because I don't want to go through filler. But like, you know, huge amount of merch that you could get because Naruto was so big. And I mean, straight up, this machine isn't working and it's frustrating me. Um, like straight up, you know, Shonen Jump titles, like if they're not popular, they go bye bye. If they're not popular and they don't do well, like you know, in the reader surveys or like in getting feedback, if they don't do well, like the series is just over. So, and you know, you might not necessarily get to see all that content that the creator had intended. And I mean, the same thing kind of goes for like American comics and American TV shows. Like, you know, they'll make a season or, you know, they'll do an initial run of something. And if there's just not interest, there's not demand for it, then it goes away and there's no more. Shoot, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. Go back up. Go back up. Ah! Okay. So you know, if you're a fan of like an obscure series, you would want more people to get into it so it can continue to happen and like continue to be made. um, so I just don't understand the like, and I mean I know that gatekeeping it isn't logical because there is this gap in you know the understanding that making things mainstream can be good for whatever it is that is being made mainstream. Like, and it's this weird protective, like, shitty little gremlin mode that activates in their brains or whatever. Um, but it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's something that like I've seen time and time again, and I understood was like stupid even as a kid because or you know even like when I was significantly younger because like you know I mentioned I'm in a bad situation right here. I mentioned how I've like always been into like video games and comic books and stuff, and you see it like anytime that they you know market a new comic book series you know to target women as an audience, it's like oh, or like girls as an audience, it's like oh no like we can't do that, like no that's not good. That's not cool, like why is it not dark and gritty and like the old Batman films or whatever. um and it just again like I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense because you know if even if it's like a reboot that's you know targeted towards a completely different demographic than what you are, having that media having that media made brings more awareness to the original thing, and like you would think that's better, right? Like another thing I watched today, I watched the Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans special, and it was fun. Like you know, wasn't 100% my cup of tea. I'm obviously not the demographic that they're gunning for to watch this thing, but like I had a good time. It was fun. It was silly. Oh my gosh, go away. I had a good time. It was silly. It was fun. But I just remember like when Teen Titans Go came out, people threw the big like people everywhere were like throwing fits and like writing articles about how Teen Titans Go was ruining their childhood because it was taking these beloved characters from like the you know early 2000s cartoon. It was making them stupid, dumb, like caricatures of themselves, yada yada yada. And I mean like that's kind of the point of the show is that they take all the characters and are like, let's take your you know let's take you know like the flaws in your personalities and kind of turn them up to the extreme for humor. And in that regard I think Teen Titans Go is really funny actually. And I mean I haven't like religiously watched it or anything, but I have thoroughly enjoyed the, probably like dozen or two episodes I've seen. Oh my gosh. Because, I do think it's shit. That was one of those. I jumped way too early because I was trying to pay attention to the barrel over here. Like it has its target demographic, and it's okay that it's not made for me as a 20-something-year-old. And, the people who throw a fit about how it's ruining their childhood because it's not like the 2003 Teen Titans, well, people threw a fit. Shit. People threw a fit about that Teen Titans show too. Like the old guard, like comic book fans were like, "What's with these designs? What's with this Japanimation? Like, how dare you do this to Teen Titans?" And again, it just like this happens every time. Every time something is like, "Oh, we're doing a reboot," or "Oh, we're making like a spin-off," or "Oh, we're changing our marketing and we're going to try and appeal to this new demographic to try and bring in more fans." Every time you have people throwing fits because it's not made for them. How dare they? And it's just stupid and doesn't make any sense. I mean, I keep saying it's stupid, but I just don't have better words for how completely idiotic it is to think that, you know, this corporation that's deciding that they're gonna take a beloved recognizable franchise or beloved recognizable characters and they're gonna make it into something that appeals to a modern child audience. Um and you get upset about that because you aren't seeing what you had as when you were a child like 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's just ridiculous because the things that appealed to children 10, 20, 30 years ago are different from what appeals to children now. Like the writing is just different. And I think the writing in Teen Titans Go is good for what it's setting out to do, but I mean I personally am certainly like, no, the original Teen Titans, like I I enjoyed and I bonded with those characters more. But that's also like I grew up with that, so I am biased towards this is the iteration of the characters that I know and love. And to me, they're gonna be like this is what these characters are. Um, in my heart of hearts. But somebody who was 10 years older than I was when Teen Titans came out and like was a comic book fan would be like, no, 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 it's the shit. God damn it. No, it's the George Perez, Marv Wolfman iteration of the characters. That is, um, that's the true version of the characters. Um, the comic books versions, the new Teen Titans comics versions of the characters is like the true version of the characters. And like I am a fan of a bunch of franchises that you know have been around for a long time and continue to reinvent themselves to because again like I mean not like I'm not saying that like all anime is childish or anything because it's certainly not the case, but like certainly in the case of cartoons in the states, I think we're starting to get better adult focused animation, and I'm excited to kind of see where that's going. But like by and large, um, by and large, any animation that isn't set up like a classic sitcom, a la The Simpsons, tends to be for kids because most shit. Oh my god, this is awful, and the screen being over to the side is really distracting me, and I hate it. Gah. um, but like adult animation, like we're slowly getting better. We're slowly seeing things that are um, doing more interesting things than just we're a sitcom but animated. Like BoJack Horseman was really fucking good. That was a good show. But by and large, um, cartoons are geared towards children, especially when we're talking about franchises that are built around, selling toys or concepts that appeal to kids, like your Transformers, your Ninja Turtles, like those your SpongeBob's and stuff, like, all those things. Like, they're built, they were designed for children, and I might be in the minority of adult fans, but I'm not interested in like gritty reboots of those franchises personally. I'm not gonna be able to get back there. All right, I'll have to pull out the machine and fuss with it if I. All right, we're gonna do one more, and then I gotta get back to work. But you get these people who throw fits about this isn't for me. Why is it not for me? And it's like, because you're 40. Like, the new Transformers cartoon isn't for you because you're 40, and they're trying to, make it appeal to 8 to 12-year-olds so they can sell fucking toys. Like, it's not for you, and that's okay. Um, and I was doing my little air quotations about like real fans or whatever, but like, if you can't take the time to understand that not everything in a franchise, especially like a long and storied franchise that's been around for decades, maybe not everything's for you. And that's okay. It's okay to have franchises where not everything is made for cis white men ages 15 to 35 or whatever. Oh my gosh. My screen troubles are getting really frustrating, and I definitely can't afford a technician, so, at least not right now, so that's just annoying. Um, yeah, again, it's like, it's just the same thing I see consistently, where it's like, every time that, like, somebody's like, oh, we're gonna reboot this thing, all these, like, man children rear their ugly heads and start yelling, but my childhood, like another thing that I'm just like thinking about is like, I remember when, gosh, damn it, I remember when She-Ra and the Princesses of Power was like announced for Netflix, and people were like, "Oh my god, they're gonna ruin She-Ra," and it's like, dudes hated She-Ra. Like, when they were kids, they hated She-Ra because it was geared towards girls. Like, it was geared to draw in like the little sisters of the guys who liked He-Man so they could sell more toys. Like, it's not made for you, and like, don't go around pretending that. I'm just gonna turn this off and finish my rant and go back to work because this is frustrating. Here we go. Don't go around pretending that like you've always been like this deep fan of this series when really it's just like, you don't want to play the new game with the young kids who are getting into this stuff. You don't want to share, so you're going to take your ball home and cry about it. Except you don't even get to take your ball home because the media is out to the public, so you just get to whine on your forums or whatever. And it's just stupid and frustrating, and I can't believe that, we continue to have this conversation consistently. Like, I feel like this happens multiple times a year anytime they announce like a reboot or a spin-off of like some long franchise. Again, mostly geared towards children. People throw a fit and can't even fathom that they're doing something different, and it's not going to be exactly the same because it doesn't make sense to keep making the same thing exactly the same over and over again. Like, it just doesn't make sense. You're not gonna, as a company, you're not gonna make money that way. And as a fan, I don't think I would necessarily want to get super invested in something if it's just gonna be the same over and over and over again. Like, as a Transformers fan, I don't like G1 that much. Like, it's goofy and weird and dumb and very 80s, and I can appreciate that for some people they're like, "Oh my god, I love this. Like, G1's my fave. Like, it's what I grew up with." It's not what I grew up with. So, I'm very open to, new iterations and new interpretations of the characters of the story. And I think it's better for a franchise to continue to, like, extrapolate on itself or reinvent itself in some capacity to keep it fresh and keep it interesting, because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, people are going to lose interest despite what, the douchebag fan bros might say. You know, like, oh, I love this forever. Like, no, you won't. Like, I'm partially convinced that it's just like they have such like a deep. They like again, it's they've formatted themselves and hinged so much of their personality and their identity on I am a fan of this thing, so in order to address and look at this thing changing, I have to address that I might have to change as well as a person, and change is scary and no. And it's just stupid. So I guess in conclusion, gatekeeping and getting mad about things changing to be more accessible or to appeal to different good demographics than you is dumb, and you shouldn't do that because it's stupid. um, and I guess that's my thesis statement of this stream. It's just something I've been thinking about. You know, last night I actually like couldn't sleep because I was thinking about like that whole anime gatekeeping thing, and I was like, so fucking stupid, like just so stupid. Because even if like you know you're not much of a video game person or you're not that much of an anime person, if there's one thing that you enjoy from that medium and you want to consider yourself a fan of the medium because there's one thing that because there's one thing that you enjoy, I think that's fine and I think that's acceptable. Like, you know, I only play Animal Crossing, but I consider myself a gamer. Sure, cool. Animal Crossing's a great game. Like, even if it wasn't a game that I personally thought was great, like, you know, if you have this thing and you enjoy it and you want to be if you and you want to be a part of the community around it and you know whatnot, even though you've only consumed a very specific portion of that, I think that's totally fine and that's totally acceptable. And I think that we are slowly inching towards more inclusivity in that regard, um, despite despite you know bullshit man babies crying and wanting to gatekeep. We're getting there. We're getting to places where we are getting more diverse voices making content, curating content, and you know getting it out there for people. So I really hope I really do and sincerely hope that, you know, gatekeeping will be a conversation that happens less and less as we, you know, continue to make games and anime and cartoons and comics and everything like as they come from more diverse voices and you know the more and the diversity in the fans, which has been there historically, has always been there, but you know maybe in a minority, and it's slowly been growing to you know, a higher percentage, like maybe one day a majority, who knows? But like, you know, as we get the community more diverse in all these different communities, like as these communities get more diverse in their fan bases and the people who are creating the content, I think things will slowly but surely get better. And, you know, the angry little man children can go off and they can yell in their little forums and stick to their dumb corners of the internet, and the rest of us who just want to go out and have a good time can just go out and have a good time and not worry about it. So thanks for coming by. Don't get discouraged like me about gatekeeping, because again I think it's something that we'll continue to have to deal with, but every time it rears its head I think we're going to see less and less support for it, and you know more and more people just being like shut the fuck up, like whatever, let people enjoy things. I think we're gonna just continue to see more and more of that, which is good. So thanks for coming by. If I can fix my arcade cabinet, maybe I'll stream later. If not, I'll probably just take the night off, the vibe, and play some Skyrim or something. But I'll see if I can tinker with the cabinet a little bit and get it to cooperate. And if I do, I will stream and I'll tweet about it. And yeah, as always, if you follow me, then you'll get notified when I do start a stream. And I also cross post all my videos to my YouTube, Firebrand Fox Gaming, and you can watch them there after the fact. So thanks for coming by. Thanks for listening to me rant about gatekeeping and man children. Just been thinking about it all day. Good to get it off my chest. if I can stream later, hopefully I can, talk about more lighthearted subjects. So thanks for coming, y'all. See you next time.